Sponsored by our friends at Nice Day, a creative marketing agency headquartered here in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Hello and welcome to Queen City Unleashed. I am Chayil Johnson, and today I'm excited to be kicking off our new mini-series, Beyond the Plate. What is Beyond the Plate? Well, we're going to take a deep dive into three incredible guests around the Charlotte area who are doing things beyond just the traditional restaurant. Today, we're going to be here in Community Matters with a great up-and-coming chef here, but then we're also going to talk to The Bulb, a nonprofit that helps to distribute fresh food to people all across the city. And then we're going to take some time going down across the border to South Carolina to Wild Hope Farms, a farm that distributes food to so many different restaurants and grocery stores right here in the city. So, to kick things off, we have one of Charlotte's rising up-and-coming stars, a man that you have probably seen a lot more recently, killing it in what he's doing, executive chef here at Community Matters Cafe, Mr. Chayil Johnson.
Welcome.
How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good.
I am glad to have you here. We actually got to come in, we were in here earlier, a couple days ago for breakfast.
Thursday.
Yeah, and had a great time in here. And I'm excited to talk to you because Kaylee, that we're just talking about, that's where I think I first saw you pop up on something that she did, and I'm like,
Yep.
I like his energy. But then I think the first DM I sent him was about music.
Yeah.
We both grew up good old church kids, some good old gospel music, and he put a song out there that is such a deep cut that it's like, if you know, you know, and that's when I was like, I think I like him.
Yeah, I mean, growing up deep South Louisiana, right? And my dad was Kojic, my mom was Southern Baptist. It's like one upbringing you really get from that.
Yep, and for me, it was Nigerian parents, it was Nigerian gospel music or American gospel music, and that was what I listened to till I could get my own iPod, and then I could start putting other stuff on there that maybe my parents didn't know about. Okay, icebreaker question for you. If you could only cook with one sauce for the rest of your life, what sauce would it be?
Ooh, that's a good one. I've never been asked that question before. One sauce. I gotta pick something that's like general so it can be branched into other things.
I'm proud of this one.
Shucks, that's good. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna say Espanol.
What is that?
Espanol, so it's one of the mother sauces.
Okay.
Which is so like you can take that sauce and it can be made into so many other things. So Espanol is basically like brown roux, some sort of brown stock.
Okay.
And like a little bit of like tomato and demi-glace.
Okay.
In it. So it's a combination of actually multiple sauces, but then you can take that, and so technically you can take that and you can make like things that are not even sauces. So you can make like etouffee with that. You can make gumbo, technically with Espanol sauce. I think it's traditionally what you see like paired with like braises.
Okay.
So, yeah.
You just said something about gumbo. First, great answer. I had no idea. I thought of it. I'm like, I have no idea what a good answer would be, but that explanation is good. But you said something about gumbo, and there's something I think, you're from New Orleans.
Yeah.
I think there's I don't know if you know this, but gumbo is huge in New Orleans. You know that originates from Nigeria?
Yep, Kinambo.
So my mom would make this like growing up, and it wasn't until I got older that I started hearing people like refer to something as like gumbo and rice, and I'm like, I had it, and I'm like, my mom makes a variation of this. And we started asking some of our friends and like gave it to them. They're like, yeah, in some places you would just call this gumbo. And it's like where a lot of people from, a lot of slaves were brought to New Orleans, Louisiana area, came from like a specific region in Nigeria. And so they brought the same thing. And when I found that out, I'm like, that is so, I think it's so neat that was maintained through the years as like a food from the motherland, if you will.
Yeah, and I think, I could be wrong, but I think it like in some way it translates to okra.
Yeah.
And so that's what the thickening agent that they used was. So the name gumbo comes from two words, and it shows like the cross-cultural connection in New Orleans, multi-cross-cultural connection in New Orleans. So kinambo, okra, which is what Nigerians use to thicken gumbo.
Yep.
But then also the Native American tribe, I want to say it was the Choctaw, had combo, which translates to sassafras. Which is what they use as a thickening agent for it. So as you see the marrying of it, so now sassafras also is filet powder.
So you put all of that into New Orleans gumbo.
You can, but Creole people is a mixture of multiple different races.
Yeah.
So the Creoles come from the Cajuns when they start marrying into other races, which was either like freed slaves or Native American or Islander, or as the years went on, Vietnamese, Korean, Irish, Italian,
Okay.
and Spanish. And so we start seeing like, so that's why there's so many variations of gumbo. You know, one of the phrases is, there's no right way of making gumbo, but there is wrong ways of doing it. And the reason why we say that is because it depends on what culture you come from. I've had Vietnamese gumbo, right? And they'll use things like, it's like the same traditional way that you make it, like starting off with the roux,
Yeah.
your trinity, some sort of meat and stock. But they might use lemongrass. They might use, lime leaves or different spices.
Things that are, I guess, more native to their culture.
To their culture.
Okay.
Italians, in Italian gumbo, like you might see like tomato product in it.
Okay.
Right? Whereas in Cajun gumbo, there's no tomato product. In most Cajun cooking, there's little to no tomato at all. So I love all the. I'm a huge history nerd.
Okay.
So I love the history of like all things New Orleans Cajun and Creole, which there is a big difference between Cajun and Creole. And then
Can you give me a quick answer? How would you differentiate the two?
Cajun people are French Acadians who came down for religious freedom and traveled from Canada to Louisiana, right? So these were just, poor French people, basically,
Okay.
right? And so they came down, and that's why most Cajun dishes are like these, they look like the poor version of French dishes.
Okay.
Creole people come from when Cajun people started to marry and integrate into other cultures.
Okay.
Right? So that's why, Creole, when we look at Creole people, we think of like a lighter complexion.
So Creole cannot exist without Cajun, but Cajun could exist on its own.
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
And there's a whole argument today between the two people groups now because Creoles are basically saying that the Cajun people don't exist anymore because there's no way that Cajun has stayed pure and anything that's mixed with Cajun is then Creole.
Huh.
And so the Cajuns are like, well, no, because we still have our language and you have to speak the language. And there's obviously there's Cajun French and there's Creole French. So it's a very interesting dynamic, but we do see some differences in their food as well and what they eat. Like I said, Cajuns is more one pot wonders, a lot of brown, things that last longer, things that have less fresh ingredients. So you're not going to see as much peppers, you're not going to see as much tomato, fewer bright colors. Whereas Creole, a lot of brightness, a lot of tomato, a lot of seafood. Cajun actually doesn't have that much seafood originally in it.
So when people start talking about seafood stuff in New Orleans, it's actually more Creole.
It's more Creole. Because the Creole people were more used to dealing with seafood than the Canadians were.
I feel like I just got a whole history lesson. Like, wow. I literally had a question in here to talk about like New Orleans and like that upbringing, and you just taught me a whole lesson.
I stay prepared for it.
So that's had to have shaped so much of who you are as a person, and especially in your food, like where you started. Can you tell me about, I guess, the New Orleans culture as a whole? Because I feel like unfairly, people hear New Orleans, they think Bourbon Street, Mardi
Party
Gras.
City.
Yeah, exactly. But there's so much more. I got a chance to go a couple years ago for a conference and went a few days early just to kind of experience the city with a buddy. We went to a Saints game and just like wanted to like walk the water and stuff. What is that? How much did that culture shape you? What are some of those things that you carry with you now? And then coming to a city like Charlotte, that's so different. Like, talk about that a little bit.
So it's funny because I didn't realize how much Louisiana and New Orleans culture had shaped me until I came up here to Charlotte.
Okay. What would you see?
Well, the biggest things was a little. I don't have like, if y'all hear me talk, I don't have a New Orleans accent.
No.
And that's mostly because I didn't grow up in the city. I grew up outside the city in the greater New Orleans area. There's a little town called LaPlace, Louisiana, which was all cotton field and sugarcane fields and whatnot. So more like suburban country.
Okay.
Or suburban like Bayou country. So when I left Louisiana, so when I was in Louisiana, I didn't consider myself New Orleanian because like I had friends who like grew up like in the Ninth Ward, on Fournette Street, on in Plaquemines, like like New Orleans, right? And so I'm like, like that wasn't like really me to that capacity. So like I would I came up here and like I realized like like people find it strange that like you know, the things that they probably thought were like Louisiana, New Orleans stereotypes was actually our lifestyle. Like, you know, red beans and rice on a Monday.
Is that a traditional thing to have it on Mondays?
Yeah. Because you put it in the crock pot on Sunday.
So like a lot of people eat red beans and rice on a Monday.
Most people in Louisiana do.
No way.
Yeah. Now we eat it other days of the week for sure.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, like it's like like, you know, you just did Sunday dinner, you know, you're starting the new work week. You put some beans on in the crock pot overnight. We always had rice. I feel like most people and families always like rice is, you know, the one ingredient that probably like is in every culture.
Yeah.
Fun fact, actually rice grows in every single country except Antarctica.
I feel like that tracks.
And so, yeah, so like, you know, that was like actually a thing that we did.
Yeah.
And so like, you know, coming up here and they're like, oh, you actually like crawfish boils was a thing. Red beans and rice on Mondays was a thing. Excuse me. Like king cake during Mardi Gras season.
Yeah.
You know, everything that we do in New Orleans, I feel like is based around the seasonality of what is available and the parties that are associated with or the festivals that are associated with it. So like, you know, during crawfish season, like you can just walk around any neighborhood and smell like crawfish boiling. And you can just probably hop in someone's backyard and be like, hey, yo, can I get a plate? And they're like, yeah.
No way.
Yeah. I think that's also a big thing of difference of culture. Like, you know, when I came up here to North Carolina, I realized how Southern I was. Like, I'm really Southern. Like, I'm the type of person where if I'm walking down the street, I make eye contact, I'm waving.
Oh, yeah.
I'm saying, how was your day? Right? Like, in New Orleans, if you ask somebody how your day, don't ask somebody how their day is and not be prepared for them to stand there and tell you how their day is going.
Mm-hmm.
Here is like, it's not the North, so they'll stop, they'll wave or whatever, but they're not having a conversation on the street. They're gonna look at you like a weirdo. Whereas like, New Orleans is not in any kind of rush.
Really?
Oh, zero. Like,
Oh, so y'all really got some Nigerians to locked into because that's how the Nigerians.
is that how y'all are?
Man, Nigerians don't do anything fast except go get some money. That is that is my dad's gonna shake his head when he hears that. But no, Nigerians do. I told them when we were getting married, I said, look, this is the time. I don't need any of y'all there in a seat. As long as my wife to be is ready to get married, we'll get married without the rest of y'all. So y'all run late if you want to. We are getting married on time. People showed up late. The Nigerian aunties and grandmas are greeting each other in the sanctuary, hugging, how are you, exchanging pleasantries.
During the wedding.
We're supposed to have started, and we like gave them a few minutes to like come in. They're not rushing to a seat. Hey, Nigerian weddings literally 2-3 hours late, and it's to the thing where my dad he raised us to be so prompt. So like my friends know I hate tardiness. I feel bad when I'm late.
Same.
If you are tardy too often, like I start to lie and give you the wrong time.
Same.
So that way you don't keep pissing
my friends
me
think
off.
I'm crazy for doing that.
Right. This is when I knew it was bad. Went to a wedding, and I was like, Dad, we gotta go. Like we're in the hotel across the street. I'm like, we gotta go. He's like, son, take your time. And I was like, what is going on? My prompt father is telling me to take my time. We got there. They did not start for 3 hours.
Oh my God.
And he goes, this is what I was trying to warn you. In the actual culture, nobody's in a rush. Everybody is, so that exchanging pleasantries, how was your day? Like that is so cultural.
Maybe New Orleanians got that when Nigerian people came over to New Orleans and it mixed into the Creole.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. You can blame us for that one because we'll go nowhere fast.
Yeah, New Orleans, they're in no rush. Like we ain't getting mad about
Really?
like like if like there's a long line at the grocery store or whatnot because someone's chatting up with the person checking them out, then well, it is what it is. Right? It's just how we live.
So it sounds like, I don't know if this is true for the suburban area, Bayou area that you're saying, or even just like, even in the city. It sounds very communal.
Incredibly communal. And I think also when I came up here to Charlotte, that's one of the things I fell in love with Charlotte about because I started getting, specifically within the chef community in the culinary world, I start getting that like feeling of what I still felt from New Orleans and like LaPlace of like that community, that neighborliness, that like, oh hey, like I'm struggling, guys, I need some help, and then you got like 20 people like hitting you up who legitimately are like there to help you out. So like, you know, another cultural shift also was like, and I know Charlotte gets a bad rap for this, and it's not a comparison to it, but you know, people are like, oh, Charlotte doesn't have a food identity. right? And so coming from New Orleans, like it was very apparent.
Yeah, of course.
Because New Orleans has the strongest food identity in the country, bar none. It's not close.
Yeah, no, because I think you think of other major cities, New York, LA, Chicago, it's more of like, you can get good foods from different places
Yep.
there. But you're right, New Orleans, you think of a few certain cuisine that you're going to have there.
Yeah, there's really only, I might be corrected on this, there's really only two cuisines that are specifically unique to the Americas, and that's Cajun and Creole. I'm lumping that as one.
Okay.
And you could argue Tex-Mex,
Yeah.
right? But even Tex-Mex is just the watered down versions of traditional Mexican cuisine.
And maybe depending on how you define barbecue and how we do the smoking
Yes.
of barbecue and briskets, because there's barbacoa.
Yeah.
But like how we do like the full like smoking and
Yeah.
that might be
That is very unique to the States. But obviously, like, you have like South American
Yeah.
countries who have done version of this, Australia that's
Right.
done like
Yeah.
versions of this and whatnot, and we have turned it into a unique thing. But like Cajun and Creole does not exist without the culinary diaspora of the Americas.
Wow.
And so like leaving that and then coming here was a huge culture shock, because then I'm like, oh wow, like it's not like New Orleans, where not only is there's not this distinct food that I know I can get like really, really well done,
Yeah.
but also, like I said, like, with Creole people, the how expanded it is with like how many other cultures are in it, right? Like I talk about like all the different Asian cultures that are now mixed within Creole, Vietnamese, Korean, Taiwanese, Mandarin. That's a language. That's not a culture.
Chinese, yeah.
Chinese. Japanese, right? They do their traditional food very well in New Orleans, as well as integrating in
Wow.
others, but then also like Haitian and Jamaican
Yeah.
and Bohemian. One of the best restaurants in New Orleans, Capere Le Pen, by Nina Compton, is she comes from St. Lucia. And she's like, it's not fusion. I don't like the idea of fusion cuisine. She uses New Orleans ingredients and a lot of like New Orleans culture around food with what she knows about like St. Lucian cuisine.
Huh.
And that's all over the city and all over the state.
You're changing my mind about something, because when I went for conference and then work a couple days early just for fun, and afterwards I'm like, if I never go to New Orleans again, I will be okay. And in I don't know how many minutes now, just to go eat, and like I would need to go with like a list of places to eat from you, and then I feel like I would have a really different experience.
I got a
because-
list of the top 30 that I always keep on.
because this is like already I have a better appreciation for the culture of New Orleans based on like the different kind of people there, the diaspora of it. Like that's not New Orleans doesn't get that PR to the world. Like that's not what gets pushed out there. But I think this is so interesting.
Yeah, I think New Orleans obviously gets marketed as like the party capital of the country, which it is, right? And they do a really good job at it. I mean, tourism, I believe, is our number one source of revenue.
Oh, for sure.
For the state. And so like obviously like what we do with Mardi Gras every year, the attractions that we have with the Superdome, with Essence Festival, with Jazz Fest and Buku Fest and Voodoo Fest and all these different festivals and music venues and whatnot, and just the history of the city. I think that's what gets marketed. All those things are true, right? But like, if you like spend the day with a New Orleanian, right? Or I will expand it beyond New Orleanians. Like, there's so much culture outside there. There's a lot of culture in La Place, a lot of culture in Baton Rouge, in Shreveport. Some people argue that Lafayette actually has the best. Lafayette has the best Cajun food in Louisiana.
Huh.
Yeah, Lafayette has the best. Lafayette does better Cajun food than New Orleans does. Yeah.
He said it. If that's a big deal, he said it.
All my people from Lafayette know. They
Okay,
know.
so this is just a fun question for me. You mentioned Bayou earlier. Were you on some of the boats in the bayous, like with gators and stuff, or you didn't mess around with all that?
Once or twice.
Okay.
Like that wasn't like, my parents didn't play about stuff like that. I mean, but funny enough, like, like alligators was like a legitimate thing. Like, they just like be on the street where I was from. Like they'd be on the street. I remember we had a neighbor. They think they moved in from Ohio or something for business. I think he was like working at like one of the chemical plants, and like it was like their second or third day in the town, and we all wake up at like 8 o'clock because we hear like some woman just screaming. All the neighbors come running outside. There's a 5-foot gator sitting on by their front door. And he comes out with a shotgun about to shoot it, and all the neighbors had to scream for him to stop because, that could ricochet off. Like if you don't hit it in the right spot, yeah. And so they moved out like a month later. They weren't there long, but yeah, like even like not in the city, like in the Bayou, like the wildlife, like I didn't realize again like how southern in Louisiana I was, where it's like the area we were in was Bayou, and they turned it into a community, so like, they drained the swamp. And so like there's still a lot of wildlife there. So like there's alligators. There's like we had a couple 6-footers. At one point we had an 8-foot alligator that Wildlife and Fisheries had to come and remove. Bald eagles. A lot of people don't know bald eagles are swamp birds. So yeah, so we had bald eagles in our town that would eat the ducks. Raccoons, possums, peacocks. Out of all the things I just named, the peacocks were the ones we were most scared of.
They're actually not called peacocks.
What are they called?
This is my favorite fact from 2025. They're called peafowl. The males are the peacocks because they're the ones that do have the big feathers to attract the female to mate. But the bird species is called peafowl.
Did not know that.
Right, I learned that, and I'm like, I don't feel like anyone knows this. It's just of course, the male are dominating the species.
Another sign of the patriarchy.
Right, exactly, another sign. So I'm like, put some respect on the women too. The peafowl.
From now on, it's peafowl.
Peafowl.
But anyway, no, actually, this is specific. The peacocks, they were mean birds.
Oh, really?
During mating season, first off, people forget, if you've ever seen the other guys, you know this. Peacocks can fly. Peacocks can fly, and it's terrifying because they're not small. So like we could be outside in the yard playing, and we would just see them circling, and then they slowly start coming down. And during mating season, the men were aggressive. The peacocks were aggressive. So they would like chase you.
Y'all were just getting chased in your neighborhood by peacocks?
Yeah, I mean these are like 3-foot tall birds, 3-4 foot tall birds.
I'd be terrified.
We were.
Wait, what?
Yeah. So like growing again, it's stuff like that. I didn't realize that how unique those experiences in my life were. We have all these like festivals around, like we have Satsuma season, we have crawfish season, meat pie season, oyster season, strawberry season. Like everything is centered around either like what we eat and what time of year we eat it, what is available, when we decide to play music and what kind of music. So again, the cultural portion of that, and this is coming from someone who wasn't like deeply in that kind of the culture. But then when I left, I'm like, oh wow, but it's that deep to where I stick out.
Right. Yeah.
Like here in Charlotte.
Huh.
But yeah.
So I think it's so cool hearing you talk about it. Like, do you miss it? Like, are you going back anytime soon? Or are we keeping you here in the
think
city?
I'm kind of locked in on Charlotte. I do
Okay.
really love this city. I got a house here a couple years ago.
What do you love about Charlotte? Like coming up here, that's a huge adjustment. What do you love about the city?
It's safer. On top of, I like how spread out it feels. New Orleans is small, like geographically. New Orleans is like really, really tight.
Okay.
So I like how Charlotte's like a little bit more spread out. And I guess what I enjoyed the most was like, if I stayed in New Orleans, I'd just be another Louisiana guy.
Yeah.
Here, like I felt like I had the ability to be unique. I had the ability to grow at my own pace.
Yeah.
And I was able to hit a market that wasn't really in existence here. And that's expanded to so much more than that. And a lot of it is really also just based on the community that I've been able to build here.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to sit here and argue that Charlotte is a better city than New Orleans. There are like its positives and its negatives.
For sure.
But like, I came here in 2015 for school. And a lot of my friends that I created in those first couple of years there are still some of my best friends today.
Yeah.
The community that I've been able to build over like the last 7 years since I've been here at Community Matters has been not just like vital to my professional growth, but also like my personal growth and my personal relationships, and being able to like see the impact that this place and myself and my coworkers have been able to have on the city and the community in this city. has been really powerful. So yeah, so like it would be hard to leave this.
Yeah, I feel very similarly. When people ask, they're like, "Would you and your wife leave?" And I'm like, "To go do what?" I was like, "This city, I feel like because it's younger and fresher and not as established, has a lot of space left on its canvas as a
Yep.
city. You having the impact you have in Charlotte, much easier than you going to New York to try to have the same impact.
Yeah.
Us doing what we do, trying to have this impact in Charlotte, much easier than going to Chicago to try to do that. Like, so much of this city is like open and like waiting for people to come and make their stamp on it. And I'm like, why would I want to leave that? And I think culturally it's good enough. Like, I don't know what more I would want. I grew up in Richmond. Like, there's culture there, but it's not anything like, it's not like a Louisiana where people like, oh, like a strong identity. So I'm like, I don't know. For everything I want, we've got great friends here. We've got good community. We're able to grow for ourselves. Like, everything you're saying, it's like I fully agree. I do want to get to what brought you up here, Johnson to Wales. But before that, you mentioned rice earlier, and this is a question that we asked our friends a lot last year. If you had to give up one starch carb for the rest of your life, rice, potatoes, bread, or pasta, what would it be?
Pasta.
You said that so fast.
I'm not giving up bread because I love sandwiches. Not giving up rice because I might eat that more than anything else.
You
regularly.
know, a lot of people answered rice to that question, and it really confused me because I'm like, rice is to me, the only starch that you see everywhere. Like,
every single culture in the world outside of cultures in Antarctica, if there are any,
that's right.
eats rice.
That's what I was like. What do you mean you would give up rice? I'm like, Mexican food, Indian food, all East Asian food. Like, what do you mean you're giving
European food?
Right. I was like, what do you mean you're giving up? I'm African. I could never give up rice. And they're like, yeah, no, I'd be good without rice.
That's crazy.
Mine is potatoes.
I would have said potatoes, but I do love a good French fry.
But apart from that, like, we went to Italy last year. I love pasta. I have to limit how much I eat of the pasta because it's not exactly the best for me.
I would cheat and do gnocchi because that's a potato pasta.
No.
No, why? Why
No,
not?
it's
Why does that count?
You know it does not hit the same.
It's what?
A
Says who?
potato gnocchi lasagna.
No. I don't need lasagna. I just do gnocchi.
So you're doing chicken Alfredo with gnocchi?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Nah.
If I can't have pasta, yeah. But also, like, I would also just do traditional gnocchi dishes.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to give it the potato.
No,
I think
I'm not.
my wife,
I like pasta, but it's not that
I
important.
think my wife said she's giving it. You said pasta? Yeah, she said she's giving up pasta too. I love pasta. I also ate so much pasta growing up as a soccer player. Like, that was the pregame carb dinner.
Yeah.
And so, like, I love, like, and we got some really good Italian places around here. Like, I think
that the answer to that question is dependent on the culture of the person.
yeah, rice I knew was like never.
Yeah. Not giving up rice. Never eat a po' boy again. Psh.
Yeah, that was the other thing. I'm
Not
like,
giving up bread.
sandwiches. Everyone goes French fries. I'm like, bread, sandwiches, like everything that you eat, that's a sandwich.
I will say
Like,
the answer was between potato and pasta.
okay, all right. I feel a little better because I do think if I had to pick a second one, it might be pasta. Like, I love like, to me, the gap between 1, 2, and 3, the gap between that and 4 for potatoes is big. But if I had to, pasta would be the next one because
Yeah.
rice is at the top for me.
Yeah.
I could never. That'd be terrible.
No.
Okay, so you talked about what brought you up here. School.
Mhm.
How did you? I know you didn't always know you wanted to be a chef, like, since you were a kid, but at a certain point you figured that out. What was that realization to understanding, hey, I think I might want to cook, to then pursuing it in college? Because that's a huge jump to say this is something I want to do professionally. What was that journey? What was that moment Kyle knew I want to cook, and then now I'm going to go pursue this?
Well, it's funny because I can tell you the exact day, but so I started really young. I started culinary school when I was 12. So in New Orleans, there's this middle school / high school called New Orleans Center for Creative Arts, NOCA. It's, I guess you could argue it's world renowned, definitely like renowned in the country for producing some of the best artists in the country out of Louisiana. So
Okay.
like, it's a conservatory art school. So like jazz, classical, media arts, creative writing, drama,
Okay.
theater design, media arts, all those things. And some of the alumni from that: Harry Connick Jr., Wendell Pierce, Anthony Mackie, Wynton Marsalis, all the Marsalis brothers and sons, Lucky Day,
Wow.
John Batiste, Trombone Shorty.
You say John Batiste? Who?
Yeah, class of '03.
Oh, y'all have got talent out of the school.
Yeah. Like, and it's obviously it's still growing.
Yeah.
So like it was basically like, hey, if you wanted to pursue the arts, go to this high school. And it was like it was a tough school in terms of like how hard they pushed you, expectations. But when you made it out, right, like you were going into like adulthood with the foundation that most people wouldn't have reached until they were like 26 or 28.
Okay.
So you're starting at 18, where most people going into their 30s were probably starting.
Wow.
Um,
So this is kind of like this is a deep cut. Was this kind of like a Victorious
yes,
high school?
yes, that's exactly that's exactly what I compare it to every time. It's
Yes.
basically like Victorious, except more disciplines. And so
Okay.
when I was 12, they just created the culinary program.
Okay.
They had just added that in, and then Emeril Lagasse donated, I think, $500,000, along with some other groups, along with the Saints, New Orleans Saints, each of them donated $500,000, and they built out a state-of-the-art kitchen in the school for
Okay.
us. And so that's where I got my start. And it was mostly just because, like, I'm one of six. Me and all my siblings were homeschooled. I really wanted to have a school experience, like a high school kind of experience. So my two older sisters were already going to the school, one for media arts, one for creative writing.
Okay.
And I really wanted to go. So I used to play jazz a little bit. I used to play the piano and the saxophone. And so I tried out for the jazz program, and I sucked. Like I say I sucked. It was just really hard. Like it's intense. Like there are expectations for you. You can only get into school by tryout because it's free. So like the tryout process was like really tough. Like they were expecting you as a 12, 13, 14-year-old to have like a level of professional development, right? Like you couldn't get into that school not knowing anything.
Okay.
You had to have something. At minimum, you had to have passion to try to learn.
Okay.
So I'm like, yeah, I don't think I want to like push myself that hard for jazz. I don't think I like it that much. And so when I looked on the list of all the other disciplines, culinary arts was the newest one, and it was all you had to do to try out was write a resume and do an interview. So I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll try it out. So I started off with just like their 2-week summer program, and I really fell in love with it. And then after I joined their full school year program, where it was Monday through Friday, I think my time slot was 1 to 4 or 12 to 4. Intense culinary training, state-of-the-art kitchen. Our chef instructor, Dana Deonzi Tui, she was Emeril Lagasse's executive chef from his Las Vegas restaurant. She was also an alumni of the school, not from culinary though. So she was originally from New Orleans, came back to teach.
Wow.
And it was like we got crash courses and everything, but we had like a long time to develop it. And so I was looking at culinary. I was like, okay, this might be something I want to do professionally. But at the time, I was still playing baseball. So at this point, I'm like a sophomore, so I'm like 15. I was still playing baseball, and taking the baseball route was still an option.
Yeah.
Of like collegiately and maybe trying to develop something to play pro if possible. I think everyone wants to say they want to play pro. I don't think I was good enough to play pro, but I think I could have played in college.
Yeah.
And so I was looking at that, and then I had an injury my sophomore year. I got hit by a pitch and got cartilage damage in my wrist. And right then and there, that day, I'm like, I'm gonna stick to cooking, because it was like, and I was good. I was a very good baseball player, but like the rehabbing was really hard. It took a long time to get back and to get at full strength, and I just realized like I didn't love it that much. And then I had a lot of fear around it. Like I was a really like kind of like, I don't know if timid's the right word, but I was very fearful of a lot of things, very nervous.
Yeah.
So like I remember before every like piano recital or jazz recital, before every baseball game, like I would be nauseous or throwing up.
Wow.
Like I didn't know what panic attacks were, but now looking back, I've had multiple panic attacks as a kid, just out of the fear of messing up at stuff and like meeting everybody's expectations. Like I said, like in baseball, I was really good, and I was so terrified to be good because I was like, if I'm too good, people are going to expect it from me every single time.
Wow.
And this is like, I mean, I started playing baseball when I was 5, so I think like these fears really developed when I was like 6 or 7. And it was like that all the way up until like sophomore year.
How do you temper that now? I mean, this is jumping ahead a little bit, just sticking on that conversation though. You're killing it. And you don't have to say it, I will, but
Thank
you're
you.
killing it now. And we'll get to some of the other stuff you're doing, but like, how do you temper that now? Like, was there something you did to help cope? Was it an acceptance of yourself differently? Like, what helped, or do you still struggle with that now?
No, because cooking was the first thing I did that I wasn't afraid to mess up at. And
Really?
that's why I stuck with it. Like when I started cooking and started going to the school, like obviously I had my fears and my anxieties stuff still, but you know, when I messed up, I was just motivated more to get back in the kitchen.
Huh.
And I'll attest that one to first to my parents and how they work with me of taking responsibility for myself and accountability and hard work and discipline. And I want to also give a lot of credit to two of my teachers, Dan Dianzi Tui and Jesse Wicken, for helping coach a really scared kid and helping me like develop like that enjoyment, like taking in that discipline and like helping switch that into fun.
Yeah.
And so we'll talk about it more, but like there's like three pivotal moments of my life that has strongly developed my career now. But like NOCA was one of them with those two teachers. And, you know, when I got there and I started like cooking and doing that, I'm like, oh, wow, like this feels a lot like when I was in organized sports, like the camaraderie and the teamwork and the reliance on others. And you can't do everything by yourself.
Yeah.
But also the accountability of like, hey, but I have to make sure I'm there for everybody
Right.
else too. I got to work hard. I got to put in the work. It's not enough to just do the work in class, right? I got to practice outside of here. And then again, like I said, when I messed up, I was just more motivated to like get back and do more.
Okay.
So like, you know, people people hear this and they think it's crazy, but guys, I promise you, like this has developed me of getting so far ahead as much as I am. I would say when I was 13 or 14, I started waking up every morning at 3:30 a.m. So like I said, like I was still homeschooled. So I did homeschooling up until I was 16. So this was my schedule. So it would be homeschooling. So I wake up at 3:30 in the morning. You know, came from a very faith-based family. So I wake up in the morning and I read my Bible and pray for like an hour. So 3:30 to 4:30, and then I would do all my homeschool work from 4:30 to about 7:30, and then our parents put us into dual enrollment classes. So I was actually going to the University of New Orleans,
Okay.
getting my college credits when I was 16. So then we would drive into downtown New Orleans, and I would go to my classes at UNO from like 9 to 12, and then I'd go to NOCA, and I'd be at NOCA from like 12:30 to 4, and then I'd go home, and our teacher would let us take home potatoes to practice our knife cuts, and I practice my knife cuts every single day. So I go home and practice my knife cuts on potatoes when I was home, so that'd be from like 4 to 5. And then at that time, I was also playing baseball, I think, only for one more year. I played baseball, so I would like practice and whatnot, and then I would study and do all my homework, and I go to sleep every night like 9:30. Wash, rinse, repeat.
So when you say, "Oh, this guy is everywhere and he's getting all these recognition, can he actually be that good?" Yes, he can be that good because he's been putting in this work since he was 13, 14 years old. Oh, let me tell you how much I appreciate the fact that you are so dedicated to that, because I knew for a lot of things for myself in life, I was not that dedicated. And I was like, if I can't put that effort into it, I need to walk away. I'm not waking up at 3:30. Like soccer was my thing that I'm like, I could do this, like you said, collegiately. And I'm like, it got to a point I went to a camp with some coaches and it snowed.
Soccer
Four,
in snow sounds awful.
6 inches, the ball's barely moving. And the coach looked at us and was like, at this school, we embrace adversity. And literally on the drive back, it snowed so bad, it was like a 3.5 hour trip. It took my dad and I like 5 hours to get home.
Okay.
On that drive back was when I was like, I don't think I love this sport enough.
Yep.
Because if this is what I have to deal with to go get that, I don't think I care enough. And like that was the beginning of me saying, no, but like but the grind though, the school, fun fact, you're the second person, second podcast guest, and now that's really out there. Both my wife and I were both homeschooled.
Oh, word. Shout out to the
Yeah.
homeschoolers. Not a whole lot of us.
Hey.
Not a whole lot of us that didn't turn out really weird.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I can't say shout out to all of them because it's not
No,
shout out
some
to
of y'all
all.
are a bunch of weirdos.
Yeah, no, not some. Most are.
You know
a
what?
bunch-
And that's a stereotype that's true.
You know, like I
It's
stopped,
true.
and so I'll put this out there. So to any of my friends from undergrad, if you ever hear this, I had a whole lie developed by the time I walked in as a freshman to college. Where I'm from, I say Richmond, Virginia, because that's a city that people know. I'm actually from a small town, Beaver Dam, above Richmond. But there's Fredericksburg is the next well-known area above, like kind of halfway between Richmond and DC. So when people would ask me where I went to school, I would flip the question and ask them where they went to school. Because normally the next question is, what high school did you go to? So if you are from Richmond, Virginia, and I met you at Virginia Tech, and you said, what high school do you go to? I said, I went to a small private school outside of Fredericksburg. If you're from Fredericksburg or above, and you ask me what high school I went to a small private school outside of Richmond. I maintained this for 4 years. Literally, no one could tell you where. They're like, he just went to some private school.
Yeah.
It was true. It was not government funded. My parents paid for it. I also did the dual enrollment thing, the whole nine. It wasn't till the last 2 weeks of college did I start telling some of my really close friends, and to see their brains completely just implode. They're like, but you're not. Wait, how?
You don't
wait,
just wear khakis and
yeah,
polo
like,
shirts.
Right, exactly. So I can't say shout out to all the homeschoolers because the majority of them are
right.
strange weirdos.
I take that back. But it's funny because I think also of like who we were and like how our family was. There was elements like, look, we were kind of weird. It's definitely, we were homeschooled, but we had 6 of us, so it's not like we were like, we had no, connection to anybody else. But also, our parents put us in a lot of extracurriculars.
Yeah, and that was us. That's how we ended up not being the weirdos because like our extracurriculars also weren't with other homeschoolers.
So one we did was we were in a homeschool band. It was like homeschool, like classical, like music, and actually like we learned like that's where I started playing jazz and whatnot, and we learned like really good stuff from it. Like there was a good teacher and whatnot. But the amount of blatant racism, because we were one of 2 black families there,
Dude, man,
was really, really bad. And looking back now, like I remember moments they called us monkeys, and I didn't register what that was back then as a kid.
I don't think I had this conversation with a lot of like anyone outside of my brother because like they're same for us. Like we joined a homeschool co-op. So it's like a whole bunch of other families, like the whole thing, and it's like we were.
This is a kindred spirit right now. It's crazy.
We were the first black family to join, and it's like in the country. Like Beaver Dam's already a small town, and we were like a little further out, and we were like the first black family. Now my mom smartly then recruited all her girlfriends, all the other black families, and their kids. So now like my boy, one of my boys that I'd known literally my entire life, he's at the co-op now too. So at least we have each other. But like looking back, there are so many things. The weird thing is now growing up and seeing some of them still on social media and the things they post, and it's like this has always been in you. And looking back to some of those experiences of like when you said certain things, when you did certain things, it's like this goes back to that. So my parents made sure like we did a whole bunch of extracurricular things. Like my brother and I both played travel soccer basically our entire lives. My sister played every sport under the sun. Like so, it was really important for them to make sure we were well-rounded outside of just this community because I think they didn't see the gravity of it till later, but they saw that like there are flaws here that we need to make sure get rounded out in other areas. And it's one of those things where it's like people ask like, are you proud of like it? And it's like, no, I don't know if I'd say I'm proud.
I'm proud I didn't turn out how some other people did.
Exactly. I am proud that my parents afforded us some opportunities to be more well-rounded, I think, and letting us express ourselves a little bit. But yeah, there's a lot that goes into that, especially early 2000s. Like it's being the black kid that's homeschooled is weird. And then you get to other places and like the black kid that's homeschooled is like, what do you mean you're homeschooled?
Or also just like it kind of put us in a box. And throughout high school, like I didn't do like my academics at this school, but it was also NOCA was also an academic high school too. So like a lot of my friends went to the high school or were going to other high schools. And so, I had to figure out a lot about who I wanted to be and who I was because when I was in like predominantly white space, especially predominantly white homeschool spaces, right, we were the secular ones because
Whew.
me and my brother, we wore basketball shorts or wear jeans
Or a hat
or a hat
backwards.
or
God forbid.
yo,
A hat,
come on.
A hat backwards.
Or a new era fitted with the sticker size still on it. So
Look.
now we're hood or we're ghetto,
Oh,
right?
wow.
And also, and not to say that, and this is something I've been trying to like unlearn and reteach myself is right. We associate hood and ghetto with the negative, where those are just places that where you live, right? Like those words in of itself do not predominate a culture, right? Or they don't like, that's not the predominant portion of the culture of when we say hood or ghetto. We've allowed that to take the place of what we see in that.
This boy preaching
So
real good
like
right now.
because I tell you, like when I was playing baseball and my dad would jump us around like different leagues and
Yeah.
whatnot, because since we were homeschooled we couldn't play for schools. My brother was able to play for a school actually, which was really good. My brother was an amazing baseball player.
Okay.
Actually like recruited, like a college recruited baseball player, but it was during COVID, so he never got to play.
Oh, man.
Never got to play in college. Shout out to Kyron. So like, some of the places we played when was in the hood, where I was like on all black teams. And then like I really stuck out also because I was like the quiet, and even though like we weren't like other homeschools, we were still very more reserved and we were very sheltered. And like, and they recognized pretty quick that I talked different, right? Or that I didn't act exactly like them. And over time, most of them were cool, and like some of them became good friends. But for the most part, like I got picked on and bullied a good bit. And the only thing that honestly saved me was that I was a good baseball player.
Like they don't want to give you too much of a hard time.
Yeah.
I think you started to allude to it. What I realized, whether is white spaces being and there's another layer of it for me too, being Nigerian. So there's like, my parents are they came over here. So I'm the first grandchild born in the States. So like culturally, there's just so much that I also just miss.
Yeah.
That like movies, music, all sorts of stuff like that my parents just didn't care about. And so what I realized, and I think my friends today will say that Shay is really comfortable with who he is. And I think it's because I spent so much of early adolescence, teenage, college years feeling like I was getting tested by everybody.
Yes.
It was like, you're too polished for this, too preppy for this, you're too Nigerian. And it's like, I had to figure out internally, like, all right, these are the things that I care about for myself. My people will find me and accept me for that. But I felt like it was always like, my wife has started to identify this. She was like guarded, like, and almost to the point where it's made me stubborn in a lot of like value things, where it's like, even if I'm wrong, it's gonna be a long time before I let go of it. It's like, 'cause I spent so much time trying to defend who I was as a person, to now I love when I have friends that are like, oh, they start saying things, they're like, oh, we love this about you. And it makes me happy because I'm like, I had to fight to get to the point where I accepted that about myself.
Yeah.
And now people around me are able to like call that out. College for me, two people, Frank Shushock, Francis Keene, were two mentors that were like, saw this like energy and this heart for people and like gave me opportunity after opportunity to like become a leader, put that towards something productive, and never tried to change me. And like, we're like, be you, but like, how do we mature? How do we grow? And like, not just like, oh, this is too much, but like gave me the opportunity to like flourish. I tell them all the time, every time I see how grateful I am for them, because that's when it started to click. And that's where I'm like, all right, now I know the person I want to be, and you're not going to be able to test me anymore because I'm too much of this or not enough of this. Like, no, this is who I am, and you can take it or leave it.
Yeah, mine was when I got to Noka in high school. I got like picked on a lot, playing baseball for basically like, not growing up in the hood and not having like that culture of blackness that they were familiar with. And I don't blame those kids for that. They were kids, and that's what they knew. So when I got to Noka, I kind of took on this like, no one's gonna pick on me anymore thing. So like I was so locked in on cooking and on perfectionism and this rigidness of discipline that like, if I didn't feel like other people were equal to me in that, I was so mean, dude. And that's something else I've had to work on, going into adulthood. But like I was like, I would say this, like I was a good person still, but I was just so harsh and so intense with it. Like I wouldn't smile. Like I think there's like 3 pictures of me in high school smiling. I wouldn't talk to people a whole lot unless it was about cooking or food. And over the years, as especially going to junior and senior year, like I lightened up a little bit.
You got hardened a little bit.
Yeah,
like,
I did because I'm like, well, this is something I know I'm good at.
Yeah.
Like I know I can work harder than anybody else at this, right? No one's gonna make me feel lesser than or feel weak because of this. So that then transitioning into college and then into college, I'm like, all right, Kyle, you have to find the balance of being disciplined in this and
Yeah.
working hard, but then also being kind
Yeah.
and more gentle and loving. And that's still something that I work on even a lot today. I think I've improved significantly on it. But yeah, I am very thankful to have been homeschooled. I think it's given me a lot of experiences and a lot of a lot of tools that I don't think I would have had if I did the traditional school route.
Yeah.
I probably would have never got connected within cooking if I didn't have the ability to
Have that flexibility.
Have that flexibility
Yeah.
to go to NOCA. On top of like, and this was hard when I was going through it, but it used to be way easier for me to talk to adults than talk to people my age when I was in high school.
I'm about to throw my
Because
microphone.
my parents taught me how to talk to adults, and I spent more time around my parents' friends than I did around people my own age.
My wife is shaking her head, but I say this all the time, and my parents would be like, "Adult conversation, Shay, adult conversation,"
Yeah.
and I'm like, you guys don't understand. Your conversation is so much more interesting than whatever, and I hear you guys talk, and I'm interested in my dad was always like, get to know information, like he knows a bunch of random stuff. I'm like, so you're teaching me to be like you, but then when you guys are talking about the really interesting stuff, I can't be like, I don't care about the new TV show. Let's talk about the world. Like,
Well,
what is
I
going
think
on?
what's different, and I don't know if that's part of more Nigerian culture, where stay in your kids' place
Yeah.
sort of thing. But our parents forced us into adult conversations. So if we ever went out to the movies, like we'd go to the movies and then we'd get back home, and the first thing we would do is we'd all sit down and we'd talk about what we got from the movie, talk about the deeper meanings behind it,
Oh
talk
my
about
goodness.
what was good, what was bad, how can we relate this into our life, how does this relate to things that we learned in
We
the
got to get our
Bible?
dads in a room because
Bro.
when I tell you, we could not watch TV shows without. My dad would not let us watch certain TV shows if he watched a few episodes and didn't feel like there was value that we could take from these shows.
When I was 8, I was allowed to watch Braveheart, but I was not allowed to watch Dragon Tales.
Look. Guys, I found my twin. I found my twin. Like, we were running out. Like, the time here is going fast.
Yo, I'm sorry.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
okay.
Yeah, we gotta move on
Wow.
from the homeschool. We can talk about homeschooling later.
Wow. Okay. So, we'll get back to Johnson Wales if we have time. That's what brought you up here. Community Matters, where we're shooting today. For people who don't know, could you explain it? Because part of this series is like thinking of how food just goes beyond just like when we show up and order at a restaurant with our friends. So what is it? What is Community Matters? How did you get brought into Community Matters? And like, what are you guys always working towards? Because I think it's a really cool thing we have in our city that a lot of people don't know about.
Yeah. So Community Matters Cafe, we are a branch of the Charlotte Rescue Mission. Charlotte
Okay.
Rescue Mission is a Christian nonprofit organization that works with men and women in recovery and substance abuse.
Okay.
We've been around. Charlotte Rescue Mission's been around for 80. I think we're celebrating our 87th year this year.
Okay.
And Community Matters Cafe has been around for 7 years. And so our Charlotte Rescue Mission, over the years, they've changed and adjusted of how they work with men and women in recovery. As more research is done, they're discovering new ways to connect with people, new ways to beat this disease and catch it early. And so throughout the years, as men and women graduate the program, it's a nonprofit, it's a completely free program, where men and women for 4.5 months come and get their core recovery. They go through detox, then recovery, therapy, counseling, all aspects of getting them back on track.
Okay.
And so in 2016, 2017, I think they recognized that the men and women who were graduating the program, they weren't having long-term, a large number of them weren't having long-term success in their sobriety.
Okay.
And so they wanted to find something where it was a it was kind of a better segue and transition where the women got to practice their sobriety, basically.
Okay.
Still under the safety net of the Charlotte Rescue Mission, but while still getting a level of exposure where they could actually like learn a lot of these steps and a lot of these skills that they utilize to improve. So like one number I like to point out is the average ages of our men and women in our program. For men, the average age of when they're first introduced, so like the first time they see somebody drink or see someone, smoke or shoot something up. For men, the average age is about 9 years old. For women, it's about 7. The average age where they first experiment it, for men, it's about 11. For women, it's about 9. The average age when they start becoming regular users, for men, it's about 13. For women, it's about 11. The average age when they become full-on addicts. Addicts being they need this to function regularly in life, to do the things that they're responsible for, to get up in the morning. For men, it's about 15. For women, it's about 13 or 14 when they become addicts, right? The average age of when they're coming to us, I think men, it's like 40, early 40s. For women, it's like mid 30s. So they've already had 2+ decades of active addiction by the time they come into this program. So you can also understand where they're at in their social functions and their ability to regulate their emotions. Most of them have the emotional intelligence of like children or teenagers due to when they started using the drugs and when they became reliant on them. And so again, like they're realizing, hey, we're getting them clean and we're showing them how to live sober, but that's in a space where they're surrounded by people that are in sobriety. And then when they go out to the real world and they have to go and get their jobs in hospitality or in construction or wherever, and they recognize everybody doesn't live by that standard anymore, it's a hard thing to keep up.
Yeah.
And so the idea for the cafe came about. So our former CEO, who retired a couple years ago, we always had this building that we're currently in. This building is about 120 years old. It was an old I always get it wrong. I think it's a textile mill.
Okay.
It was an old textile mill. And the Rescue Mission bought it in the 50s, and they utilized it for different things. I think it was a thrift store. It was maybe it was a church for a little bit.
Okay.
But it went through a couple different changes. Then it was an abandoned building for like 2 decades. But the Rescue Mission still owned it, and so they saw this. Our former CEO joined this kind of like nonprofit Shark Tank that they had in Charlotte called C21.
Okay.
Or C20. And he got 3rd place for coming up with this idea of a cafe and restaurant that takes the men and women from this from the rescue mission and puts them in the life skills program where they learn the proper forms of communication and dealing with their stressors and conflict resolution and timeliness and all these aspects that they either never gained or lost during their time of active addiction, and practice it in a 6-month program that's fully funded, where we take care of their living expense, their food, their medical, and their legal needs, and they get to really practice their sobriety while also being able to get back into the community and reintegrate into the community at a slow pace. So we ended up getting third place in that, which I think was like $3,000. And long story short, he basically flipped that and did a capital campaign and was able to connect with this insurance collective that would donate money every year to a nonprofit to develop into, and they donated $1 million to us to do the build out of this of everything over a span of like three or 4 years, I think. And that insurance collective was called Community Matters. So they are the namesake of our restaurant, Community Matters Cafe. I think a lot of people think that we just like, what we're doing makes sense. But it actually just like worked out perfectly with their donation and who we are. So that was 7 years ago. We opened in April of 2019. And
Did you help open it?
No, I was on I started the week we opened.
Okay.
So within the program, like I said, the men and women, we take care of their living and their housing, all their needs. They come here, so they take their life skills class, which is like an actual classroom class.
Okay.
Then they come here, and for 6 months, they will work in every single portion of the restaurant. There'll be a host, a barista, a line cook, a prep cook, a dishwasher, a pastry assistant, a server, a busser. They might even practice some of the managerial jobs. And all the staff are trained in the life skills. So like as they're like doing these things, right, we're also managing and showing them how these life skills are implicated in this part of the work. Because what's more stressful than the hospitality industry with so many twists and turns and things that we don't know is going to happen. And so as these things happen it's like a real-time laboratory. As these things are happening, we're helping to develop them. So like we'll have men and women who have like open panic attacks, and we in that time they still have their counselors that are still there on call or actively in the building. So we'll work with them and show them how to use the things that they learn, therapy techniques, the counseling techniques, and walking them through. Whereas before, in these situations, they would have probably got let go or fired or went back into active addiction. Whereas now they actually get to practice that. They get to work through it. We get to slowly integrate them into these, not just these hard skills of like, learning how to cook, learning how to serve, learning how to be a barista, but also like learning how to manage their emotions, learning how to do conflict resolution with guests and with their coworkers, learning how to take on leadership, learning how to be a leader, learning how to be on time, right? Proper nutrition, proper sleep schedule, work-life balance, like all of these things. So within 6 months after they graduate, we help them with job training, financial literacy. We have other section programs where if they want to go back to school, we have partnership with community colleges where if they want to get their GED or their associates, we work with them to get that. HVAC licensing. We have a connection with the organization called She Built the City, which I think is basics in like carpentry and construction working.
Wow.
And we give them placement, and then we also help take care of their living for an additional 2 years if they stay in our program, where they'll pay like $200, $300 a month in rent, so they get to build back their finances and their savings while also still being into a part of the program and still coming to events and still being able to get some of the insurance from, or being able to be insured by the rescue mission for an additional 2 years while they really actually get to build up. Because, like I said, it's like decades of like this struggle that they're going through, and that doesn't get fixed in 4.5 months of recovery or 2 weeks of recovery, right? This is something that we have to take years and years to help build back in their life.
Wow. Man, that is awesome. I don't think I knew the whole story of Community Matters, so this is I appreciate this this breakdown. For you, why did you come here? Johnson and Wales, I didn't realize this till, I think my wife pointed this out last year. It's one of the top culinary schools in the country.
Probably considered tied with Culinary Institute of America.
I had no idea. Like, because to me, I think this is also the PR, the way that people talk about the city. They don't talk about Charlotte like it's got the best of anything, but like to have one of the best culinary schools here, it's kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah.
So for you, what led to you being here?
Well, obviously I did NOCA, and then I actually won a scholarship from Emeril Lagasse. So we did a lot of work with him in high school. For those who don't know, Emeril Lagasse, world-renowned chef who has his like flagship restaurants in New Orleans. So I got a scholarship from him to go to Johnson & Wales. I ended up in Charlotte. So did Johnson & Wales, absolutely loved it. Had a great relationship with like teachers and classmates who are now like permanent friends. And so
Question for you: what degree do you get? Because it's not. Is it just a culinary degree, or like is there like a certain in a culinary school? Are there different kind of food degrees you can get?
So I have my associate in culinary arts and I have my bachelor's in food service entrepreneurship.
Okay.
But you have nutrition degrees, you have food science degrees now, business management, food management, beverage. You can get your bachelor's in culinary arts, your bachelor's in baking and pastry now.
Okay.
But also Johnson Wales also offers one of the best sports management degrees in the country.
Oh, wow.
Which a lot of people don't know about.
Okay.
And a fashion degree. But yeah, so I graduated early. I graduated in about 2.5 years with my bachelor's. Shout out to homeschoolers. Some of y'all. And so I plan to go the very traditional route of, the hospitality and culinary. I'm like, I'm gonna get out of school. I'm gonna go and work in a restaurant, be a line cook, move up to lead line cook, move up to sous chef, move up to chef de cuisine, and then by the time I'm 40, or something, I'll be an executive chef and own my own restaurant. And so I left school and I started working at this restaurant called the Asbury, and it was doing really well. And I was taking that route. I became sous chef. I think by month 3 I was there, month 4, and I was just like working myself to death. Like I was doing like 70 plus hours a week, and I cared a lot. I cared about the staff. I cared about my craft and what I was doing. But the industry doesn't care about you. Like if I died the next day, they'd have my replacement in tomorrow. And so I was like, and this isn't like any shots at like the people or the management there, but I think just the system. It was also a restaurant and a hotel, right? So this is like a large corporate system. And like, so I'm pouring all this into it, but I'm not really getting anything in return. So I actually had like kind of a little bit of a medical scare from sleep deprivation. And I came back to work one day, and my friend, who was the executive pastry chef at the time, who's actually now my coworker at the cafe, Miranda Martin, I came in, I was like known as like the happy person
Yeah.
and the like the bright light, and I was always connecting with people and talking with people and like keeping the team together. And so one of my big things, if I walk in a room, I'm telling you good morning, I'm greeting you. And I think I walked in and I didn't say anything. And she pulled me aside and she's like, I think you need to leave here. Like, I don't think I think this place is killing your spirit. And so I'm like, nah, I'm fine. It's just a season. She's like, no, Kyle, this isn't a season. This is this place. She's like, I think you need to go and look. At the time, our front of house manager had left months earlier to come and actually help open up the cafe. And so she said, I think you should go and hit up Jenny Villalpando, and because she's doing something really cool with the Charlotte Rescue Mission, and I think you would be perfectly aligned with it. I'm like, yeah, I'll check it out. So I think the next day was like my one off day, and I'm like, you know what, fine, I'll check it out. So I hit up Jenny, and I'm texting her, and as I'm texting her, she texts me. And she's like, hey, chef, how are you doing? I'm like, Jenny, that's crazy. Like, I was just about to text you. Like, I want to come and check out, like, what y'all doing with Charlotte Rescue Mission. She's like, oh, my God, I was just texting you because there's a line cook opening, and I was just telling our chef I think you'd be perfect. So I'm like, oh, okay. Well, let me Google, see where y'all are at, because I literally live 2 blocks from here.
No
I had
way.
no idea. I had no idea where the Charlotte Rescue Mission was. So I'm like, and I didn't have a car. Or like I shared a car. I live with my sisters. I shared a car with my sisters, so they were at work with the car. So I'm like, well, let me see where y'all are at. And I look it up, and I'm like, oh, y'all like 2 blocks away. Like, yeah. And I'm like, or can I come now? She's like, yeah. All right, I'll hop on my bike. I'll be there in like 3 minutes. I get here, and but still before we opened, and excuse me, and I come in. I think the day I come in, they're literally just like putting in the booths in the building. And so I meet with Jenny. I meet with the guy who's the director at the time at the cafe and the executive chef. And they're sharing about me, what this is, everything I told you based on what we're doing. And that hit home to me because I believe everybody in their family, either personal or in their family or close friends, has some connection to addiction. And it's pretty rampant, and you don't have to travel far to see it. So for me, alcoholism had ran through my family, my extended family. My grandfather was a World War II vet, and he suffered from alcoholism and a gambling addiction for the majority of his life until he passed. And that was really tough on me, especially as I got older, and like my parents like kind of like share with me like his issues and his vices. And so when they told me about this place, my first thought was like, oh my God, what if something like this had existed for my grandfather, who was dealt a bad hand in life? You know, he got drafted when he was like 19. You know, never had left. I don't think I'd ever left the state of Louisiana, let alone Hammond, Louisiana, and get shipped off to like Poland. And comes back and is like, deals with things that he never talked about, and was promised all this stuff that as a black man during that time just never received. And probably like the cheapest form of therapy he could get was the bottle. And so I'm like, if someone was like this was around for my grandfather, right, like he could still be here. And so I'm like, but you know what? This is somewhere I can be here for somebody else's grandfather, our mom, our dad, our brother, our sister, our friend. And so I used to say it was the most impulsive decision I ever made, but in reality, I think it was like truly me being led by the Spirit to do something bigger than myself. And so like, I signed the paperwork that day to join the team, and it was I'd had to take a pay cut, a demotion, because I'm coming in from being a sous chef at a fine dining restaurant to being a line cook at a southern diner-ish almost kind of restaurant. And like I was moving backwards professionally, career-wise. That's what it looked like. But I'm like, nah, this is like the first time where I feel like God is speaking to me to do something. And so I remember I went home after I signed my paperwork. I called my dad. I called my parents. My dad is a financial advisor, and he's my financial advisor. So I have 2 versions of my dad. My father, right? And then my financial advisor. So we basically have an agreement upon where like when he's my financial advisor, like he's looking at it in a business point of view. Because like I pay him to do this.
So I'm assuming dad was really proud of you. Financial advisor dad was not.
Literally, he was like, oh, Kyle, that's awesome. I'm so proud of that. He's like, can I talk to you as your financial advisor? I'm like, yeah. He's like, that is not a good decision, Kyle. Like looking at the numbers, you'll be going into your savings within like month 4 or month 5 you'll basically be living paycheck to paycheck. Are you sure this is a decision you want to make? I'm like, Dad, like I really feel like I'm supposed to do this. And I kept a good relationship with the restaurant I was at before. At that point I was making really good standing with myself with other chefs in the city. So I'm like, if this doesn't work out, like I can go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Like I think it'll be fine. He's like, okay. So I moved. I transitioned over to Community Matters. And it was rough that first year. Like we were maybe serving 20 people a day. This is a large space, so it was just empty, and it was just like hard. We were throwing so much food away because the executive chef would be like, "Hey guys, we got to get ready for the pop," the pop that never came. But within like, I would say 6 or 8 months of that first year, like we started to pick up a little bit of traction. Our executive pastry chef at the time, Ashley Anna Hovis, who had left Haymaker, which at the time was one of the bigger restaurants in the city.
Okay.
And to come here as well. And so like we had some talent here, and so I think her name carried a little bit. So we started to get a little bit of leeway, and then I had some really good connections in the city as well with like Greg Collier, who's a mentor, who I did like some of the early soul food sessions with, so like we started to create a little bit of clout, and when I felt like we finally were starting to like starting to put like rubber to the track. COVID happened. Everything got shut down. We were furloughed. So I remember I was furloughed for 2 weeks, and then my boss called me back. He's like, "Hey, you want to come back?" I'm like, "Yes, please." So he brings us back. But me and Ashley Anna were the only kitchen back house members that were brought back. And so what we did actually was like multiple organizations donated a bunch of money for us to feed first responders in different homeless shelters and rescue missions during the summer of COVID. So we were putting out like 3,500 meals a week that people were taking and bringing to different homeless shelters and first responders. And that was mostly, we were doing that, one, to help and to keep our students engaged, because the programming doesn't stop. Their addiction doesn't stop because COVID happens, right? Like our program still exists, so we still did things with them.
Wow.
So that went on for months throughout COVID. And then slowly, I think bans started getting lifted and like the city started waking up again. And so I'm downstairs like doing inventory, and I asked my boss at the time, like, "Hey, so when is the other cooks and the executive chef coming back?" And he's like, "Oh, no, we decided that like we kind of wanted to like go a different route, and we feel like we can do a little bit more with the food in the program here. So you're the head chef now, so have your menu ready in a month." And that's how it worked. That was my promotion. I was 22. No, I was 20. I just turned 23. I was 23. And I was just like, oh, okay. I remember that day I called my best friend, Brandon Staden, who's a sous chef at Supperland. I called my best friend. And I was like, "Yo, bro, I'm the new head chef." And he's like, "Oh, word?" I'm like, "Word." And he's like, "Now what?" I'm like, I don't know. I've never been put in this position. And so long story short with that, I really like a lot of trial and error in like my food and my leadership. But I had such a good backing. I cannot shout the praise enough of Ashley Anna, who is the executive pastry chef, who is now the director of the cafe. Okay. Ashley Anna, the work that she put in to helping me develop better as a leader. I think I was about to sound like LeBron James for a second, but shout out to Women's History Month, because like Ashley Anna is also one of the most important women in my life who've developed me in my profession. Like the leadership skills she's helped impart on me. Ashley is not much older than me. So I know she was like also in a place where she's learning this stuff on the fly and trying to do stuff. So, and the amount of patience she had with me, like I did not understand the numbers stuff of the food world very well back then. And so how she helped develop me in that, the positions that she put, I found out later that she was the one that like championed me to be the head chef. And they put a lot of trust in a kid that, right, like
literally a kid when like you're just an adult.
And they like, "Hey, we trust you to do this."
That's how you know it was meant to be. Like you get that you're about to send the text at the same time they're sending you a text, even if it's not the best financial decision, but like doing the right thing that aligns with your values and who you are. Money and title and accolades will, all of that will come, but when you do it for the right reason.
And I remember I had a conversation. I was like, Ashley Anna, I think we could do something that's like James Beard worthy here. And then after a while, I'm like, you know what, actually, Anna, I don't care anymore. Like, I think after like my second year being head chef, I'm like, I don't think this is a place where we would ever get that. And I'm so content with that because working with these students every day, the staff that we have in now, I feel like this place has kind of turned into people's second chances because we are so locked in on having a healthy work environment here. One, we have the best benefits of any restaurant in the city by far. We're only open Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. Everybody works the same shift, 6:30 to close. So most people are out of here at 3 o'clock or 3:30.
It's a pretty good gig.
We're closed on the weekends. Full benefits, 403B, which is like a 501k, paid time off, vacation time, personal time, sick time. I think in total for the year, we each get like something like 30 or 40 paid days off.
Wow.
All holidays are paid day off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
On top of the Charlotte Rescue Mission, does a partnership with Capella University where you have the chance of getting a scholarship. So I'm currently getting my MBA for free due to the cafe and the rescue mission. But yeah, so I think through that we get a lot of individuals coming here who are industry professionals or have been done wrong by the industry or trying to get in the industry, and they
It's a
see
different
this,
kind of rehab for them.
yeah,
here.
so they see this, like, these are not the students or residents.
Yeah.
These are like everyday people, and they're looking to like kind of like I still love this industry, but I don't trust it, and I want to be in a place that I can. And so I've had my core staff right now. My pastry chef was my very first intern when I started here. My lead line cook was, I think, my fifth intern when I started here. And they started with me as 18-year-olds, and now like I have a 24 and a 23-year-old pastry chef and lead line cook who are killing it, that are like doing things that like most 30-year-olds are trying to do. And then my sous chef, Shay Carter, she was the executive sous chef at the opening team of Lee and Luis. And I think like the industry just like beat her up and burnt her out, and so she actually left the industry. But I'm friends with her wife. I was friends with her wife first before I was really close with Shay, and she had left the industry. And her wife was like, "Hey Kyle, like I think Shay's trying to get back. Are you looking for someone?" I said, "Yeah, I'm looking for a sous chef." And she's like, and Shay is like, for those who know Shay, they know the immense talent that she is. Shay has worked at Michelin star restaurants in Spain, in New York. Like she was part of the opening team with Lee and Luis. That is 3 James Beard nominees.
Yeah.
And so she came here basically on a hope and a dream. And like I feel like I can say that she's now living her best life, because we showed her a different way of how of combining excellence with taking care of yourself and what this can be.
Man, Kyle, you're doing all the right things, man. Like this now, like you see people getting all these recognitions online. You have to assume like, all right, their food's good. They got to be decent as like a human, but like you really are like putting forth all the things that you would want a good person to be and a good chef on top of all of that. Like I think that just carries so much weight. You talk about not chasing the award, the recognition of James Beard, but you got nominated. Weren't you a semifinalist?
I was a semifinalist last year.
What was that moment?
So it was really funny because it was, I don't know if y'all remember when it snowed last year, in January. Like we had that random snow day.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think it was around Martin Luther King weekend.
Yes. Yep.
And so we were closed because it wasn't good traveling conditions, and I was sitting in my bedroom doing schoolwork, and I was scrolling through Instagram, and it happened the same day the Charlotte FC got Zaha.
Okay.
And so I'm scrolling, looking at that, and then like the next post was like, oh, James Beard nominations came out. I'm like, oh, word. So I went on going to look and see like which one of my friends in Charlotte or out of New Orleans got nominated. So I get down to Southeast, and I'm scrolling. I see Sam Dimner. So I'm like, oh yeah, I expected Sam to
He's
get
awesome.
nominated. Sam is so cool. I saw Colleen got nominated. I'm like, oh man, that's dope. And then I'm scrolling. I see that CHA, and I scroll past, and I scroll back up, and I see Kyle Johnson, Community Matters Cafe. And I remember I exited out of it and refreshed the page to make sure that it wasn't like, something that someone made, like, oh, these are the ones we hope people get nominated. And I went back on, and I saw my name again. And then immediately, my phone started blowing up. I think the first 2 people that texted me was Sam Hart from Counter and Chandler Wren from Hex Coffee.
Okay.
And I'm just like, oh my God, this is real. I don't remember who I called first. I may have called Ashley Anna first. And then I called Brando. And then I just start going down the list of calling people. I'm like, oh my God, guys, I got nominated for James Beard. And then I call my parents, and they're like, oh, what is that? So let it be your parents be the ones that keep you humble.
Oh, always.
Always.
Every time I go home, I'm like, try to have a moment. They'd be like, but your wife, though. And I'm like, okay, we know she's awesome. Can I have something, please? Dude, that is awesome.
It was very surreal. And I think what made it the best is that when I say I don't care, I don't mean the sense that it doesn't matter, but I mean the sense that I don't.
You're not
nothing
putting
I
your value
nothing
on
I
that.
do is valued towards getting that.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not trying to make good food so I can get nominated. I'm not trying to be a good chef or a good person so these people can recognize that I can get nominations or be on TV or anything like that. I do it because it's good and because I see the work that I put into that and how it improves other people's lives and my own. Like, I am happy.
Yeah.
I'm truly happy doing what I do. And if an award for being happy is getting a James Beard nomination, I'll take that.
And then to top that off, you go to New York with CRVA. Charlotte's Got a Lot, sends a whole bunch of our best chefs up there. What is that experience like?
I mean, that was, again, very surreal. And, you know, all those chefs that were there with me, Chris Coleman, Callum Buckles, Andres Kiefer,
lineup.
Brittany Cochran, Colin Hughes, Justin Hazelton, Joe Kindred.
Manolo went up there with you guys.
Manolo, who I met for the first time. They're such a nice guy.
Oh, he's awesome.
I hope I'm not leaving anybody out of that. Abby from Bojangles, they had Bojangles up there too. You know, being a part of that. Oh, and Faith Morley from Counter.
Okay.
You know, being a part of that and going to, it was my first time in New York for real. So that was really cool. And then just being an experience at such a prestigious place, and being able to share the mission of Community Matters up there too. It was just so dope. But then also a part of it, and this is like the competitive side of me too, is like, I do also want people to know that I work really hard at what I do, and I am really, really good at food, right? Guys, I started this at 12. Like, I had what would have been considered an associate's degree in culinary arts by the time I was 15. Because also Noka did the Johnson Wales curriculum. I don't know if I mentioned that. So I went through the entire curriculum of Johnson Wales already.
Okay.
And
so and it's okay to have some of that pride for yourself. Like, I'm that guy. Like, and it's like, and not from a cocky way, but like,
I put the work in for this, and I'm proud of the food that I put out, and I do so much research and so much work into it. So to be also recognized, again, like, oh, not just because he's a nice guy or because of the organization that he's a part of, but also like, this guy can cook.
So I want to ask you this, and then we got to wrap because we're having too much fun here.
I know.
Top Chef.
Yeah.
A show we watch growing up as children, one I'm sure you paid a lot more attention to than the casual watcher. To be on Top Chef, you got to tell me about that. What is that? What was that experience like when you get a call or an email that says, "Hey, we want you to do this"? What is that like?
Again, surreal. So originally, they're actually looking for me to be casted on the show as one of the competitors on the show, but it just didn't work out timeline wise. Like, it's a lot you got to dedicate to be on the show.
Okay.
And so then when I turned that down, they connected back with me and they're like, hey, like, we would like you to still be involved. So they came to the cafe. And then they were looking at possibly doing some shooting at the cafe in the kitchen. But I think our kitchen isn't designed well enough to film or to have a bunch of chefs in there. So like, they actually, like, I don't want to say went ghost in a negative connotation, but I didn't hear from them for like months. And then they emailed me 1 week before the filming saying like, hey, we'll love you to be a judge on the first episode. And they're like, are you available on Monday? It doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter if I'm available or not. I'm going to be there. So it was so cool. All the other chefs there were so nice. I mean, Kristen Kish is one of the coolest. She's the host of the show. She's one of the coolest individuals I've ever met. And mostly because you can still tell she's, in her mind, I'm a chef. Yeah. Right? Like, she has the character, and she has like kind of like that, I don't know if the word is gravitas, to be able to, like, just like take the show. And she's just such an amazing host. But she's just such a kind and nice person. She was so hospitable. She was getting a little ticked off because I kept calling her ma'am. Again, guys, it's so hard to break the Southern. But like her and Tom Colicchio and Gail Simmons, they were so nice. I judged with Jamie Lynch, Chidi Kumar, and Sean Brock. I mean, Sean Brock is a legend. Like I remember me and my friends would study his cookbook in high school. So being able to like meet him and like be on the same table with him,
Man.
like again, it's surreal, and it was a lot of fun. It was a little nerve wracking. To like, because again, it's Top Chef. Like, so these other chefs, they're also like James Beard nominees, and most of them have been in the industry longer than I have. So to then sit there and have to like tell them if their food was good or bad was a little nerve wracking, but I enjoyed it. If anyone from Top Chef sees this, I would love to be back. But yeah, it was incredible.
So, what did you watch the episode back?
Yeah,
Was that weird?
a little bit. I was a lot harsher than I thought that I was. I think a little bit of High School Kyle may have came out,
Oh,
but
no.
I think the editors liked me, so they edited it pretty nice.
You got a good cut.
Yeah, but no, it was really cool. I think I'm super excited just to continue to see Charlotte.
Yeah.
Because Charlotte's doing so much good food.
Charlotte's got good food.
Charlotte's got good food. Charlotte's got good stuff going on. So anyone who tells you like there's nothing going on in Charlotte or Charlotte is boring, they're the boring ones. They don't know how to find this stuff, right? And honestly, you know what? I'll keep gatekeeping the good restaurants. If y'all want to keep saying it's boring, because I'm gonna go enjoy it myself.
On that, thank you. This is awesome. Like, this is so much fun. It is very rare, and I will say this before even the episode ends, and I never say this. I'll tell them afterwards. This is by far one of my favorite episodes I have ever shot. Very rare that someone understands the deep cuts of my life.
Homeschool culture,
like that.
Black homeschool culture.
Right. But honestly, I just want to tell you, I'm proud of you. Watching from afar, when I see the people that on Top Chef or you're up in New York and the chefs that you're around, like some of these are chefs that have been in the city that have had their names out there for a long time. You're not even 30 yet, and you've hit all these huge milestones. Top Chef wanted you to compete, like all these different things. You carry it with such grace and such humility, and I think that speaks great value to who you are as a person and what you're about. And so for what you do for the city, for how you put on for the city, and doing things the right way, I just want to say thank you. I'm proud of you. Keep going. The city is watching, and it's cool to have a rising star that it's not like we're not worried about them burning out. It's like, this is a rising star that like we hope doesn't get recruited to some other city. Like, we want you to stay and be a part of it. So grateful to have you and for the mission that you carry out here at Community Matters. Again, we want people to understand that food it goes beyond our regular lives and going out to eat. Beyond the Plate, this series is about like the people in your program here that help, like what food can do for people to rehab, what the hospitality industry can do to teach people life skills. And now you are part of leading teams to prepare people to go back into the world after really hard, terrible things that have happened to them, addictions that they've had in their lives. And so I commend you for dedicating your life to that, because all the accolades you have, you can go get paid somewhere to be a big time chef, but your heart is here. Yeah. And I think that is why it's beyond just the plate, it's the people for you. So thank you for being a part of Queen City Unleashed. I cannot wait to talk to the other guests we'll have in this series, but I'm glad we got to kick it off with you.
I appreciate y'all coming here and talking to me.
Absolutely. All right. Please make sure you check out our next two episodes that are going to come out after Kyle's complete our Beyond the Plate series. But if you haven't been to Community Matters, please come out, support them. What they're doing here is more than just food. It is people. And I don't know if there's anything bigger we could all be doing than to care for our neighbors who need it the most. So thank y'all for tuning in, and we'll see you on our next episode.